At work this morning, striking workers faced unusual and rigorous checking procedures. Those who didn't make the cut claim they've been blacklisted. There's a heavy police presence inside and a growing union presence outside the gates.
Nothing is going to stop us. We'll continue with our protests, even if this year ends, because they want to finalize the business of Parliament. Next year we're coming back, we'll continue where we'll have ended.
Workers accuse management of dictatorial conduct, while Parliament believes it has been extremely accommodative for weeks. Things have now come to a head.
Acts of intimidation, acts of violence, acts of disrupting the business of Parliament. Those are acts that cannot be tolerated by Parliament. And we really are hoping that our staff members who know the importance of this institution will know that this institution cannot afford not to implement the laws that it passes.
Yesterday, the National Assembly was disrupted by protesters and MPs were unable to do any work. Several committees also had to adjourn. Mgidlana says as a constitutional instrument, Parliament has to be secure enough to function. An interdict against the strikers is in place. The National Key Points Act, which prohibits protest action, has also been invoked, and the Powers, Privileges and Immunities Act, which prohibits any impediment on Parliament's work, is also enforced. Abra Barbia, SABC News, Parliament.
Well, for more, let's cross to Parliament. Our reporter Lukhanyo Calata is there. Lukhanyo, a very good afternoon to you. So Parliament standing firm again today. It looks like the sitting is going to go ahead, but under quite a heavy police presence. What are you seeing at Parliament?
Natasha, good afternoon. Yes, the sitting went ahead as planned this morning, starting on time at 10 o'clock. But I can tell you that it was under heavy police presence, both inside the precinct as well as outside watching the gates. There were also police officers watching the entrances to the National Assembly. The sitting went ahead. Inside the MPs were obviously not very happy about the sitting taking place. There were some opposition parties that, called on the Deputy Speaker to adjourn the sitting so that the Chief Whips could come out and address some of the workers. Unfortunately, the Deputy Speaker completely vetoed that and the sitting went ahead. The bills that were meant to be passed were passed. I think the Division of Revenue Amendment Bill has now been passed and will be sent to the President for assent, which essentially then means that obviously Treasury will be able to go ahead and disperse the money as allocated by the Minister of Finance earlier a few weeks ago. Natasha.
All right, and Tumola, forgive me, Lukhanyo, what about the interview with the Secretary to Parliament? Take us through what came out of that.
Natasha, we spoke to him a little bit earlier on, and one of the things that the Secretary stressed was that even though they have been in communication or in talks with the union, Parliament only has a finite amount of money at their disposal, and that they, as much as they would love to negotiate and reach a better settlement with the union, they don't generate money. And I think, Natasha, I spoke to him earlier on. This is what he had to say.
Parliament is not a going concern. We are not in the business of making money or any profit. The money that we have is appropriated. And the money that we have budgeted for in this regard is 16.3 million. We don't have any other money other than that one.
Natasha, shortly after that, in the discussion, I asked him if, as the Secretary to Parliament, if he was saddened, obviously, by what he's seeing happening to this august institution, and this was his response.
No one will be happy with this kind of a situation. It doesn't bode well for Parliament. It doesn't bode well for the country. So we need to get to a point where we resolve this issue. Now, because of that kind of understanding, we have continued to engage with the union on a daily basis. Like yesterday, we met them at 3 o'clock, even after they have engaged in those kinds of actions, in order to try and find each other. But I must say, what we have found on the other side is an attitude that says, well, you do what we are saying or else. which we think is not conducive for any kind of solution, because solutions to this matter cannot be brought by one party. It's got to be two parties who are willing to come to the table.
Natasha, well, there you have it from the Secretary to Parliament, basically expressing his sadness by the events that are unfolding here in Parliament over the last few weeks. Natasha?
All right, Lukhanyo, thank you very much for that update. That's our reporter, Lukhanyo Calata, live from Parliament.